Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you here and really excited for this video. So in this video, I'm actually going to be talking about how you can be a digital nomad in Tenerife and talking about my experience from having lived there for around a month as a digital nomad, the best places that you can work, how you can connect with people, and just overall my kind of rating and recommendations as a digital nomad spot. Okay, so if this is the first time that you are here on my channel, welcome. My name is Oonagh English and I create videos where I talk about work-life balance as a digital nomad and share my tips as I travel the world and connect with new cultures, meet amazing people and work in the most amazing places. So great to have you here. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if this is the type of topic that you're interested in hearing more about, please hit the subscribe button and remember to hit the notification bell so that you get notifications of when my videos come out, which is typically every Thursday. Alright, so I've got my little list here to make sure that I don't forget everything. So first off, right, when you're going to Tenerife, the first thing you're probably going to think about is how long should I go for and where should I stay? Okay, so personally, I really feel, and this is something that I have talked about in previous videos, it's good to probably go and stay somewhere for 3 weeks to a month if you can, because if you're working full time, really the only time that you actually have is to experience this place would be on the weekends, or maybe before work early in the mornings, or after work later in the evening. So I feel to really kind of get the most out of the experience, it would be ideal for you to kind of stay for a month. The other reason I recommend that is because if you're someone who's already a digital nomad, or you're considering becoming a digital nomad, one thing to mention is that traveling is quite exhausting, right? And sometimes things don't go to plan. So you want to make sure that you're really allowing the space for and the flexibility for, you know, things to not go to plan, to relax, to kind of recover from your journey, because you might not want to just be running around the place, kind of doing experiences and going to do different things the entire time you're there, right? So that's just one thing to recommend. So honestly, I didn't know what to expect when going to Tenerife. I have a friend who lives there, and I'd been to one of the other Canary Islands previously. I'd heard some kind of mixed reviews. So some people said, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And some people saying, yeah, it's just really terrible because there's only resorts and just tons and tons of, you know, drunk tourists, and it's not really a nice place to actually be and live. So I really wasn't sure what to expect going there, but I was really pleasantly surprised and honestly amazed at just what an amazing place it is for digital nomads, and an amazing place to meet people and to just have a great quality of life for a very reasonable price. So how long should you stay for? At least a month. If you can stay longer, stay longer. Where to stay? So again, I think this is really according to personal preference and priorities. So as you may know, Tenerife has lots of different climates along the island. So if you're on the south of the island, you'll be kind of getting a windier but much warmer climate. And that's where a lot of the younger people tend to hang out, but also that's where all the tourists hang out. So there aren't really, if you're looking for a local experience, you won't really find that in the south. But if you're into kind of meeting young people, connecting with that younger kind of audience, and you're into windsurfing, then the south of the island is a great place for that. Personally, I didn't really find that the south kind of ticked the boxes that I was looking for, because I'm much more into kind of nature, hiking and surfing. So I personally chose the north of the island. In the north of the island, you have lots and lots of different climates that you can choose from. So if you're looking for kind of a warmer, say more beach type climate, close to where you can go surfing, anywhere close to the coast and lower down in terms of altitude would be a place I would recommend, right? The higher you go up in terms of altitude on the Tede, the colder and cloudier it's tending to be. So that's just something to bear in mind, is when you're looking at accommodation, places that are, even if they say they're close to the sea, check how high they are in altitude. Because for example, we stayed in Puerto Cruz, which is in the center and the north of the island. And a very popular spot for digital nomads is La Orotava, which is literally just 5 minutes drive from Puerto Cruz, but it's up higher in altitude. So there are parts of that are already at 800 meters of altitude. So there is quite a distinct difference in temperature there. So personally, I chose to stay in Puerto Cruz because it's got a great combination of kind of being a very, very small city. It's got spots where you can surf, and it's also got a kind of a quite nice sort of bustling community there, right? Another place is if you're looking for more kind of busy sort of vibe where you can kind of connect with others, where there are lots of other digital nomads, would be Santa Cruz or La Orotava. Interestingly enough, a lot of digital nomads really like to hang out in La Orotava. If you're looking for somewhere that's got a hotter climate in the south, you might want to go to El Medano or to Los Cristianos, which are both very popular places for digital nomads to hang out and connect. So another thing with where to stay. So I wanted to touch on co-living and co-working places or spaces. So there are quite a lot of co-living and co-working spaces, and that's something that's becoming more and more popular globally, which I absolutely love the idea and ethos about it. And it's something that I was kind of really excited about when I was initially doing my research. So what actually put me off staying in these places is just the cost. So I looked at pretty much all the digital nomad and co-living, co-working spaces that I could find. I believe there's about 13 or 15 of them on the island, kind of scattered all the way around the island. And they were all very, very pricey. So they were like around at least €2,000. I think one of them was 1,800 for the month, right, per person. So if you're on your own and you're just one person, it's probably just about kind of not too much more than, say, renting an Airbnb on your own. But as there was two of us, that would be upwards of 3,000 just for our accommodation. Or some of them, I believe they were just under 3,000, so maybe like 22.50, 23.50. But for us, we could not kind of justify the investment for the advantage of just maybe meeting some people. The other kind of what we didn't really like is that the rooms were also very, very small, and then the co-working actual areas. So if you have a job where you have to do a lot of Zoom calls, like for me, obviously I'm a coach and I also work in sales. So I'm typically on Zoom calls pretty much the whole day. And they typically only have these kind of little boxes where you can do the calls, or in the room, it was just like a very small room with a small desk. So if there's two of us that have to do Zoom calls, it wasn't really conducive. So that's why we didn't choose to stay there. I do believe though that if you're on your own and you're traveling, I'm sure the vibe is amazing in these places and you can meet some great people. And if you're, someone who maybe has a higher income and you don't mind spending that much on accommodation, it's probably a great option, because I do know that they host a lot of activities and things that sound really fun. But personally, we opted for an Airbnb that we found, and we actually booked quite far in advance. So just to show you like the difference in cost. So we had an Airbnb that had a garden, it had like a bedroom, a living room, a kitchen. So it's kind of one kind of studio, and then like an outdoor area and a garden. And that cost us $9.80 for the entire month. It was within walking distance actually of the pier. Right, in Puerto Cruz, we could walk pretty much, the only place we couldn't really walk to was the supermarket. I mean, we technically could have, but it would have been like a proper workout. So it was just something, we kind of decided to go with that in the end, just for those reasons. So personally, like if I was going to Tenerife and I was going maybe with a friend, I would honestly just recommend renting an Airbnb. One thing I wanted to mention as well about kind of picking a place to stay is pick a place where I'd say it's close to do the things that you want to do. So if you're really into hiking, pick a place where it's close to one of the national parks, right, in the north, or if it's really surfing, pick somewhere that's close to a beach, because when you're a digital nomad, right, you're kind of fitting these things in outside of work. So I would recommend, even if it's paying a little bit more for accommodation, to get as close as possible to these amenities. Okay, so getting around. I have a couple of friends that actually live on Tenerife, and some of them don't drive, and so they do everything with buses. And the bus system, I mean, I wouldn't say it's bad compared to like lots of other places where I've stayed. Like, it is quite good, but it does take significantly longer to get places. And like, if you could afford to rent a car, I honestly would recommend it. It does make a really, really big difference, especially because the buses, if you're looking to go places that are maybe, you know, like if you want to do any kind of sporting activity or go hiking or something like that, the buses, you would have to wait quite a bit of time. So I feel that you would be spending a lot of your time in the bus, basically. Now, if that's okay with you and you don't mind doing that, then the price of the bus is fantastic. It's super, super cheap. So it would save you quite a big chunk of money if you don't mind doing that. We also decided to stay in a place that was a bit quieter, and so we did really need a car because we needed it to basically just get anywhere, right? If we wanted to go for a swim, or if we wanted to go surfing, or if we wanted to go on a hike, we did need to drive a bit in order to get to those places. So we rented a car with Autoreisen, I believe it's called, and I think for the month it was around €500, which actually, I mean, if you're kind of familiar with car rental prices in Europe, that's actually like less than half of what it typically costs to rent a car for that length of time. So it's obviously still a lot of money to invest, but given that we were kind of using a car daily, almost daily, we felt that it was worthwhile for the investment. So I would recommend Autoreisen. They seem to be much cheaper than like Europcar and these other companies. We actually rented it from the airport. You can rent cars from the city if you want to, but we couldn't actually find that there was a big price difference between Autoreisen and these. In fact, Autoreisen was still cheaper, so we just ended up picking that. And if you actually go to their website and not to like booking.com, rentalcars.com or something like that, actually the overall price is much cheaper. The longer you rent a car for, the cheaper it's going to be per day. So if you're renting it for a shorter amount of time, it would be much more expensive, and then you might consider weighing up the pros and cons of whether or not it's worth it. So I actually calculated how much money we spent for the month living there. And so there was two of us, myself and my husband. We rented the car, we rented the accommodation as well for the month, right, including groceries. So we went out to dinner once per week, and we went out to lunch or brunch once per week while we were out. And we did a number of different activities, like for example, we went snorkeling. So that's all included within the price of €3,000. So that's what we spent. So it was around 1,500 on the car and renting things, and then 1,500 on activities, fuel, everything else. So that's pretty much the average that we spend per month on living anywhere else here in Ireland. So I believe that it's about doable. If we didn't have to rent the car and obviously pay that much for rent, I think we would have been able to save a lot of money. Oh, one thing to mention is within that 3,000 also we bought a couple of things. Like I bought a hat, I bought a new top as well for working out. So it's also just like living things that we needed to buy as well. So I believe that, you know, if you were just living by yourself, you weren't renting a car, you could probably do it for, you know, 1,500 or even 1,200 if you could find a cheaper place to rent. Groceries on the island are, you know, reasonably a lot cheaper than say Ireland, but we did find that, you know, for a week of groceries you would be spending between like 150 to €180 for two people, and that's kind of including if you wanted to buy like a little bottle of wine, or I think we bought one bottle of wine maybe per week or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we spent on the island. I know there are people who spend much less, but we typically like to opt for better quality ingredients, You know, we were eating a lot of like fresh food, like fresh fruit and things like that, which does cost a lot more, right? So you probably could do that for much, much cheaper. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was in terms of the digital nomad community there. So there is a fairly big digital nomad community on Tenerife. Quite a lot of people emigrate there from other countries and, you know, like start working with their remote jobs or even set up their own business. I would say that the age bracket of these people would be a little bit older than, say, some of the other places where you'd meet digital nomads, like Australia or something like that, right? I would say that typically the age bracket would be 30s plus. So most people would be at least 30, but for me that's perfect. Most of my friends are in their 30s. I'm almost 30 myself, so if you're looking for kind of a more mature digital nomad community, it's perfect. We honestly met some great people while we were there. We went hiking with some amazing people. We just connected at least once a week with some really great people, and honestly it was awesome, and we're going to keep in contact with them, and we're planning on going back probably to Tenerife in September. So I also met some more people. So one thing I wanted to recommend here are the Facebook community groups on Tenerife. So there are a few like digital nomads in Tenerife, Tenerife spiritual community, and much more. So if you just do like digital nomads, expats in spirit, like Tenerife community, that kind of thing, you'll find that a lot of people are posting kind of things about meetups and different events. So because we basically planned like a massive hike pretty much every single weekend, one weekend I was supposed to go, but then I ended up not being able to attend. We didn't actually attend any of these meetups, but based off of the Facebook page and kind of the people, what they're commenting, it looks honestly really great. So that's something that I would recommend if you're really looking to connect. So I do feel that Tenerife is honestly a great place to live. You have everything that you need there, right? If you want to go hiking, you can climb a mountain, which is right there. Or if you want to go in the sea and do any kind of water activities, you can just drive to the sea or hop on a bus and get to the sea. If you want to meet people, you can just go into the city and connect with people, and everything's really accessible. It's close by. So honestly, it's one of the best places I've ever been. I absolutely love it, and I hope that you do too. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it beneficial. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're intrigued by this type of topic, please do subscribe. It's great to have you here. And if you end up traveling to Tenerife and you try out being a digital nomad there, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you get up to and about your own experience. I do hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.